Well, here we are. Thanks for tuning in. It's Weird Mythic Podcast. And we are also joined with another podcaster. We got Jason from Santa Maybe. Just say, hey, Jason.
Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. Hi, how are you?
Good. Yeah, so I'm here with Jason and, of course, the wonderful Serena. Hey, everybody. Yeah. So today, the reason we got Jason on here, and like I said, he's from the Santa Maybe podcast, which is a satirical sort of podcast on Santa and what goes on and what could happen if it was true crime related to Santa, anything. So it's pretty funny to watch or listen to. And yeah, we're excited to talk about Krampus and, anything that goes along with Krampus. So you want to talk about a little bit of your show there, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you both for having me on tonight. So my podcast is Santa May Be a Criminal. It is a true crime satire podcast. If Santa Claus were arrested in a small southern town, and all of the hijinks that would grow out of that scenario. It's sort of a love letter from me. I'm a Southern guy. It's a love letter to the South. It's a love letter to true crime, which I'm a big fan of. I'm involved with some other true crime podcasts. I have a lot of true crime podcasters that are contributing to the story and to providing their voices for characters. So I'm very, very thrilled to have been able to put the little show together, and thrilled to join both of you, as I do have quite a bit of interest in the paranormal as well. So thank you both for hanging out.
Yay.
Of course. Yeah, man. Hell yeah. So Krampus, would you consider him a cryptid?
I think I would. And I actually, and speaking of the podcast, I may actually try to work a Krampus storyline into the second season of the show. But yeah, I think so. There's quite a bit of sort of historical literature, even going back to the Bible, of I would consider, well, in the very poor research. Obviously, I'm a fictional podcaster, so I'm not really great with research. But there is some literature out there about a Krampus sort of foundation in the Bible as a goat demon. And so I looked into some of that, and it's pretty interesting stuff. A lot of interesting things that kind of grew out of that little bit of research that I did. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and just kind of get into it. I know you just kind of mentioned that he was in the Bible, which is totally news to me. I mean, I don't read the Bible or anything, but I've never heard of that before.
So, of course, every story needs a naughty and nice. And I know you guys will go into a little more of the Santa Claus versus Krampus sort of later on. But, Krampus is sort of the foil to Santa Claus historically. And so every story needs a protagonist and an antagonist. And so, like I said, we can kind of trace the foundation of the character of Krampus back to biblical times. Where there are some mentions of goat demons or satyrs. Satyrs is spelled Satyr, which is very close to satire, which is what I sort of specialize in, or try to specialize in, depending on what your taste is. A satyr is in my research, a sylvan deity or a demigod of Greek mythology, which is represented as a monster, part man and part goat. And according to Paul in the Hebrew scripture, the idolaters in Israel and the Gentiles sacrificed to the goat demon. So, and they shall no more sacrifice their sacrifices unto the satyrs after whom they go astray. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. That's from Leviticus. A few other verses that I'll say. And he appointed him priests for the high places and for the satyrs and for the calves which he had made.
I'm actually glad that you brought comparison to satyrs up, actually, because I got something about that too. So that's cool.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
He always comes through with the good research.
Good. Well, I will say this. So in Isaiah 34:14, and the wildcat shall meet with the jackals, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. Yea, the night monster shall repose there and shall find her a place of rest. So there are a lot of references in the Bible that these sort of goat demons, again, back to the satyr name, but there's also Azazel or Azazel or Azazel. I heard all of the different pronunciations in my research of Google Translate and YouTube. How does it pronounce me or whatever it is?
Oh my gosh.
I went really deep.
We do the same thing.
I always mispronounce it by the end of it anyway, so we understand.
Anyhow, so the Azazel or Azazel or whatever is the definition is an evil spirit in the wilderness to which a scapegoat was sent by the ancient Hebrews in a ritual of atonement. So, a lot of this that I looked at was you've heard the term scapegoat, right? Mm-hmm. So that sort of translates a little bit to scapegoat, which translates to the goat that was sacrificed to atone for another, effectively. So it was a sacrifice for someone else. Now, in Leviticus chapter 16, verse 5 through 10, and he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 he-goats. I said he-goats for a sin offering and 1 ram for a burnt offering. And Aaron shall present the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats and set them before Jehovah at the door of the tent of meeting. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, 1 lot for Jehovah and 1 lot for Azazel. And Aaron shall present the goat upon which the lot fell for Jehovah and offer him for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell for Azazel shall be set alive before Jehovah to make atonement over him, to send him away for Azazel into the wilderness. There is historical or mythological, depending on how you see it, record of these goat demons in the Bible that have some reference to an atonement, which I think makes sense with the Santa Krampus story. So you've got naughty, you got nice. If you're atoning for being naughty, to these you're sacrificing goats or whatever, and you have some sort of reference to a goat deity. To me, it makes sense that could kind of flow into the mythology of the coming generations, which I know that you all will talk about. But it's very interesting to me that even back then, and I've not to get off on an aside, but looking at sort of art and things throughout sort of the passage of time, that a lot of the demon imagery does have a sort of goat-like image. So that's what I'll say, and then I'll let the 2 professionals get into their podcast.
Well, thank you for that.
Thanks. That is all news to me about even I could totally see the comparison between Krampus and it looks like is that the Old Testament of the Bible, especially since Krampus is more of like a pagan type of, I wouldn't say deity, but really freaking close to one. So yeah, I like that comparison. I can go ahead and get into a little bit of folklore, and I also have a whole bunch of movies and TV shows for people to watch about Krampus. So I can go ahead and get into that if you guys want to.
Let's do it.
All right. So the first thing about Krampus that I really had to do research on first was Santa, because I wanted to know who was older and which person kind of came into the picture first. So
and when you say Santa, that's like Saint Nicholas, right?
Exactly. Thank you. Saint Nick, specifically Saint Nick.
And can I quickly say today is Saint Nicholas Day. We're recording on Saint Nicholas Day.
Yes. So. December the 6th.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
So great. I love it.
I didn't even plan that.
So Saint Nick, yes, today is Saint Nick Day, which is December 6th. He was a real person. He was a bishop. He was to be a bishop in 345 CE. He was actually known for helping people and giving away stuff. So he did lots of gifts and whatnot to families. And there was always a big feast to celebrate him as well. But Krampus, I mean, I'm sure you guys would agree also that he's a much older than Saint Nick, obviously, because Saint Nick was a real guy back in the 300s. And according to, the little bit of research that I did, I found out that Krampus is actually supposed to be the son of Hel, with Hel, in Norse mythology. And Hel, for those of us who don't know a whole lot about Norse mythology, is actually Loki's daughter. So don't worry about the movies, guys. They're completely wrong on the family tree. Okay. So
just go play Assassin's Creed and you'll get it.
There you go. So Krampus is the son of Hel, and Hel is the goddess of the underworld. So the underworld is a very cold, misty, icy place. And according to legend, that Krampus did come to Earth, the surface world, at least once a year to kind of pick on and punish children and lazy people. So that was right. Like, well, damn. So, and Hel, by the way, Serena, we got to do a whole episode on that girl, because there's that could be like a whole episode on herself. But
okay, cool.
We're gonna focus on Krampus, who is her son. And I didn't have a whole lot of other information from Norse mythology, except that he is the son of Hel. He lived in the underworld with her, and he was also just half goat, half man. So that goes back to the whole satire thing. So that was probably the best part of research that I found, was my favorite, at least, that legit from Norse mythology, and he's related to Loki, which everybody likes a trickster god because they're just fun. So a little bit else, or a little bit more about kind of where Krampus came from and how he is celebrated in Europe, and especially the Dutch. There was something called Sinterklaas, which goes back to Santa Claus, which was back in the 1600s. Back in the 1600s. And he used to give out oranges. So that was the whole thing with them back in the day. But then they also had Krampus night, which there's a whole bunch of Krampus nights that have been going on all weekend around the world. But in Europe, it was mainly on December 5th. And what kids would do is they would leave boots out on their front doorstep, hoping to get treats from Sinterklaas. And if they didn't get any treats, then it was full of coal, and they were whipped with birch branches.
Question.
So, yes.
I feel like you just unlocked a childhood memory for me.
Yeah.
Did they used to put candy in their shoes outside to deter Krampus?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that.
Why do I feel like I heard that somewhere when I was a kid, that they would put shoes out on the porch, because the orange thing is very familiar to me. And then they would put candy outside on the porch, and then maybe Krampus would walk by and say, oh, they already have candy on their shoes. They're not bad children. I swear that you unlocked a memory.
Oh,
maybe
wow.
it's a book I read.
I will totally believe that, because that's a genius way to not get whipped by birch branches.
Yeah, right.
Literally.
Santa already came by and said I was a good kid, I swear.
Yeah, that's something I would do.
God. So during December 5th on Krampus night, Krampus will go through the towns looking for the naughty children to punish them. And as I said, he would just whip them with birch branches, which, listening to Santa Maybe, the fact that it's Southern, I kept thinking of the word switch in my head. I'm like, my granny wants me to go out and get a switch. And that's all I could think of when I was hearing birch branches. I was like, oh my gosh, that's going to hurt. So Krampus will walk around with these sticks, and he would whip the children. Sometimes he would actually kidnap the kids, take them back to Hel, and then torture them. However,
yes, I heard that.
The next morning, these kids would wake up in their bed either with candy in their boot, or they'd have to, nurse their wounds from being beaten by Krampus the night before. Yeah. So that was some of my favorite stories from mythology, and from what I would also consider pop culture from back in the day, where did it come from type of thing. But with that being said, I'm going to have to post all of these links to places and festivals and stuff, since over the weekend was technically Krampus night. I have lists in Texas, the US, Germany, Austria, San Francisco, and Sacramento, where there
I love
is.
that. I love that Texas, San Francisco, and Sacramento are not in the US, first of all.
Right. But the US one was like all over. But I had to put in our local areas.
Do people dress up like Krampus at these festivals?
I have a whole thing on festivals, so say less.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm like, I got lists for people if they want to check these out. The ones in Austria looked like they were the most fun.
Oh,
you know
cool.
which one I did? I did the Krampus Festival in Austria.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I'm so glad you're going to talk about it.
I don't know why I picked that one. We always do this.
We do, yeah. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about, Krampus in more recent pop culture, of course. Of course, the first thing I'm going to talk about are all of the freaking movies that I didn't know there was sequels to the Krampus movie that I watched.
I just knew Krampus #1. That's it.
See, I have Krampus, which came out there was 2. So in 2015, there was 2 movies that came out about Krampus, and one was just called Krampus, and the other is called A Christmas Horror Story. Both of those came out in the same year. But the Krampus one is the one I saw. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 other movies that come after it, just strictly about Krampus. And yeah, it's not like... if he's going to kidnap these kids, he ain't bringing them back. It's more along the lines of true crime at this point. So yeah, so there's a whole bunch, and a lot of them are on Tubi. If anybody has Tubi, you're going to find a whole bunch of Krampus movies. Amazon has some, and so does Pluto TV. Actually has quite a few.
I think 2 out of 3 of those are free.
Yes, exactly. By the way. Yes, that's why I wanted to say, I'm like, go to Tubi. There's one called Pluto TV, which I haven't listened to or watched, but there's one movie called Better Watch Out, and it's about Krampus. So I'm like, that sounds kind of creepy.
Love it.
Just better watch out. Watch out for what? I also wanted to say, if anybody has watched the show Grimm, there's an episode for season 3, episode 8, 12 Days of Krampus. Anybody wants to check that one out? I actually don't remember seeing that one, but Supernatural also had a Krampus episode for season 3, episode 8, and it's just a very supernatural Christmas. So that should be fun. A couple of adult cartoon TV shows. I am a big fan of all cartoons, so I had to put these in here. But if you watch American Dad, there's actually 2 episodes that, show Krampus. And if you don't know, Stan's dad in American Dad turns into Krampus. Also in the TV show, The League, there was a Krampus carol, and they had a whole episode on Krampus. Did find something really cool, and now I'm going to have to order this comic book. There is a comic book strictly called Krampus. And I said Krampus because there's an exclamation point at the end of Krampus. So, and I'm going to read just a little bit about what the comic book is about. So Krampus, book number 1. Father Christmas and others have magically distributed Christmas cheer to children around the world. But when the source of their power is stolen, a secret society turns to an unusual source for help. The dreaded Krampus, child-punishing demon of holiday lore. Free from his cell for the first time in decades, will the Krampus uncover the truth behind the Santa's depowering, or leave his jailers their ultimate fate? It's a Snake Plissken by the way of the Grinch in a dark comedic adventure. And there's 5 installments to this comic, guys. Oh, wow. And I want to read all of them. Like the second one, Krampus is in Nepal. The third one, he's in the desert, and there's sugar plum fairies and reindeer that are involved. Oh man. And it's about like a secret society of Santas, and they kept him locked up. So I'm so going to have to check this out. It was written by Brian Joines, and the art is by Dean Kotz.
So I think you're speaking Jason's language right now.
I'm actually going to find that as well right now.
Dude, it looked really cool. But I also just wanted to kind of piggyback on the fact that Krampus does look like a satyr. Like I just went to like Google Images Krampus, and then I did another Google Images for satyrs. They're almost like identical, except I feel like Krampus has more of like a demonic look to him than some satyrs, because if you look at pictures of Pan or Pawn from Greek mythology, he's basically the same person, except he doesn't have the long devilish tongue. Like that's the only difference I could find. But yeah, I got to get that comic book, guys.
Isn't it interesting how, I mean, all these things, and you all talk about this on your show a lot, these similar beings, cryptids, whatever, have these, I mean, it seems to me that there has to be something out there, if it's not physical, something in the subconscious that is, calling these images out across, geography, time, whatever, right? Because these things are like in the ether, it just seems so interesting to me. I love it.
I feel like I save that in every single episode.
Yeah.
The fact that
something along those lines in every single episode.
Because we could we could look at any type of folklore in any part of the world, and we're going to be able to find some sort of connection to the other side of the world with it. And even though we don't have words to put on what that is, we just know it's very interesting, and it's got to be connected in some way, if not inspired by that other part of the world. So
awesome stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Gonna have to get that comic book.
I'm very impressed by your research skills, Naomi.
Thank you.
She's the best. She carries this podcast, man.
Oh gosh. I can't do anything without the best producer ever. So shush.
Okay,
okay, Serena.
I'm just really good at editing and telling people what to do, okay? So I guess I'll get into the festival then, because this is like the fun. I always pick the fun things to do because then it doesn't feel like work.
Okay.
So I'm going to read a story first. My brother sent me a short email. He actually used to study abroad in Sweden. He abandoned me and he just like left. And
it's not awesome that he abandoned you. That came out at the wrong time. That's awesome. Oh no, it's not.
So he said, when I studied abroad in Sweden, I was walking around in Stockholm and turned around the corner to see what seemed like a heavy metal, devil worshipping Santa Claus. Then I saw 10 of them. They had chains and fire shooting from their shoulders and a bunch of little demon-looking creatures with them. It was like cosplay gone wild. Some parents would try to offer their children to the Krampus characters, and they were terrified. It was amazing. That's how I found out about Krampus not. I think I said that wrong, but
no, you did. I think that's night. Yeah, Krampus
that's
not.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's my brother in a nutshell right there in that email. I feel like first of all, like how traumatizing to those children though.
Oh, that's
how many years
point,
of therapy are they going to have to go through now because of that moment?
All the switches, all the birch switches that were out there.
So scary. All right. So the Krampus festival in Austria is the one that I'm going to be focusing on because like Naomi said, I just felt like it was so cool.
Dude, it looks so cool. Like I want to go.
We say this in every episode too. We're going to go one day.
We got a lot of places to go, and this is one of them.
Yeah. So it began in the late 20th century. These festivals became increasingly popular in Austria and Germany, mainly as an effort to kind of preserve their cultural heritage. From November to December, and actually you mentioned like the 12 days of Krampus, I think it goes to like the 12th day of December, where people would then celebrate this rowdy spirit of Krampus. The central event of the Tyrol annual Krampus Mania is the Krampuslauf. These are so hard to say.
That's the Krampus run, right?
Yes. So Krampuslauf translates to Krampus run, but it's most commonly referred to as the Krampus parade. The Krampus parade is a spectacular procession of terrifyingly clad Krampus figures. And then, like you were mentioning, the parade always takes place at night, and the marchers are dressed in costumes resembling a cross between cavemen and Vikings. They don furry costumes, demonic masks, spiraling horns, whips, and torches, and chains and shit like that.
That's very scary. That's intense.
And then some of the marchers are acrobatic, and they'll be like doing flips and cartwheels all around. Some Krampuses juggle torches or simply flick their whips at spectators.
Oh my gosh.
I think probably like not a festival you'd want to take your kid to, but people do, like I said. But there's a lot of alcohol involved. The marchers will get drunk, and then essentially the thought behind it is they'll get drunk so that the Krampuses will chase them. So like they'll have a reason to chase them. That's like the whole thing.
Because they're being naughty.
It's like Oktoberfest or Mardi Gras. It's like compared to that.
It's very like kind of like a weaving chase, right? If they're drunk, there's like it's like a very I don't even know what to say. It's very unpredictable.
Very much so, yeah.
It just sounds so dangerous to me. Like, well, anytime alcohol is involved with me, I'm like not very coordinated anyways. And then there's like fire and
that's what I was thinking.
And people
fire
me.
Is there a story there? The fire and alcohol? Is there a story there?
No, but one time I sat on a cactus. That was great.
There we go.
It's just not a good combination. But yeah, so the fact that my brother actually got to go to one of those is crazy to me. And he didn't even know about it, I don't think, when he was there. He just happened to be there at the right time. He was like, the Christmas lights were all around. It was beautiful. Then I turned around the corner and I was like, what is this cult or whatever, you know?
I can't imagine stumbling upon Krampus night.
Right? As a foreigner too, like
you're like, what is happening and why are they trying to hand their kids to these monsters?
So wild.
I love it. So funny. Oh man. Now
Krampus sounds scary. I have to do more research because I swear the candy and the shoe thing is like unlocking a memory.
I love it. That's great. One of my favorite things about Krampus, like you said, that they were like giving their kids to them, is like a lot of like the stories that I saw was that he would stuff kids into his sack to take them and torture them.
And he would like beat them in the sack.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, if you know about Krampus and then your parent is trying to hand you to Krampus, you're like, don't beat me and stuff me in a sack. Like, that's scary.
Maybe that'll work on my kid, because Santa Claus, it just doesn't work like it used to, you know?
You know what? I have a 4.5-year-old, and same thing this year. It's like trying to get him out tonight. Like, dude, I gotta do a thing. And I'm like, I'm gonna call Santa. And it just didn't work. So I'm gonna have to pull.
Maybe it's time to introduce Krampus.
I guess so. I think so.
Oh, I think Krampus definitely needs to be in everybody's household. I mean, why not? I had no idea really who Krampus was until when those like movies came out in 2015. And I'm like, wait, what? And then I had one friend, and he was the one who was like, you don't know about Krampus, and like gave me the whole spiel about it. So
it was Matt, wasn't it?
It was Matt. It was Matt.
All right, I have an idea. All right, here's what we're gonna do. All right, instead of Elf on a Shelf, we're gonna do Krampus on a Lampus.
Krampus on a Lampus.
So we're gonna trademark that. And we'll
trademark now, guys.
We'll split the profits between our two shows. And
you heard it here first. Weird
trademark, guys.
Krampus on the
maybe a criminal.
Yeah, I just think it's great. We always need to have. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would have been a little bit of a better kid if I knew somebody could have, come in and kidnap me, and my parents were cool with it. So who knows?
I wouldn't. I would have been that kid that put candy in her own shoe. That's probably weird. I probably made that whole thing up when I was a child. Like, let's be real.
Smart.
I think that's a great idea. I don't know if I was that clever of a kid to try to trick a mythical creature into thinking I was good.
I was just an ass. It definitely would have been what I would have done.
I love it. Oh man.
Can I ask the two of you a couple of questions real fast before we close out? Because I feel so inadequate with my research skills, because I'm not a researcher. I'm not a journalist. I'm not anything like that.
You read pieces of the Bible. That's more than what we did.
I'm not an evangelist either, so that's why it's even worse. But no. So do either of you have holiday memories that, like, good, bad, or indifferent, that you'd share?
Um,
Go ahead, Naomi. You go first.
I'm trying. I know. I'm like, let me think about like any specific Christmas thing that happened, especially as like a kid, because we always, so my family has really big Christmas Eve parties.
Okay.
And we always do we call it the gift exchange game, but it goes back to that white rhino game or whatever it's called, where you like give out gifts, but it doesn't say who it is. And then you can like elephant, white elephant. Yeah. Yeah. So my family always did that. And as soon as I was old enough to play the game, which was like 16 years old, because it's like a whole lot of drinking going on. And some of these gifts aren't geared towards kids, of course, but that's probably my fondest memory of Christmas is the Christmas Eve parties. And just like, and it's big extended family, because my grandpa and grandma on my dad's side had 4 kids, and each of their kids had 2+ kids. So it was a big gathering of all of us. And just then being able to like drink and joke and be an adult with my family at that time when I was finally able to play this game was really cool. So that's probably my fondest memory. Yeah. Nice. Thanks. Do you think of something, Serena?
Well, not like anything. I mean, I loved Christmas as a kid. Who didn't? My grandma, she was like, her birthday was on Christmas. And she was like the house on the cul-de-sac that other houses tried to beat when she would decorate.
Nice.
Like, it was insane. People would drive to go see this house, right?
Oh, cool.
But no traditions. I mean, we used to open like one gift on Christmas Eve. Did y'all do that when you were kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one gift. I mean, I pass that along. My daughter does that now. I'll let her pick one gift out, and then I don't really have any other traditions other than that. I mean, we bake cookies for Santa and put them out.
Nice. And then next year it will be Krampus on Olympus.
Krampus is coming.
That too.
I never did the elf on a shelf thing. He's creepy to me. I don't like him.
Dude, I did. Same here. I didn't know anything about Elf on a Shelf until about a year ago. And I'm like, what? Just be good.
I love all the memes though. The memes are my favorite.
I have
to post them.
I think that came about. I'm sure I'm quite a bit older than the two of you. I think that came about after like, my time of being a kid. But I do have some friends who are torturing their children with theirs, and they just send me pictures occasionally, like, look at this.
I think it's kind of new, because that wasn't around when I was a kid, I don't think.
Same.
Oh, okay.
Same. Cool. I never heard of it until about a year or so ago, and I'm still kind of confused on where it came from.
Maybe about 4 years ago, but that's like the max.
Then we really
I never had that.
We really got to go on this Krampus on Olympus then, because
we do. It's so much better than Elf on a Shelf. Come on.
It's so good.
I'm gonna jump on Photoshop and I'm gonna get you a picture for the Instagram.
Yes. Oh, well, what about you, Jason? What's one of your do you have any family traditions for Christmas or something fond that you pass down to your kid?
So I have a 4.5-year-old now, and he's finally to the age that I think we can start having fun with it. And we just had a new baby too, like 2 weeks ago on the 20th.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So his name is Lucas Elfiot. No, I'm just kidding. It's Elliot. But
no, it's not. It's Elfiot.
But he's so Grayson, who's my oldest, is finally in that fun stage where I think I can like get gifts that we can both enjoy, like I like action figures. I still like playing that kind of stuff. So, but in terms of like from like a child, we would go to one of my dad's parents' house, and my cousins and aunt and uncle lived across the street from them. So it was kind of like that was kind of a thing. So that always happened. But yeah, we didn't really have any. We did do the gift before on Christmas Eve, but nothing really stands out. What I will say is that the podcast, Santa May Be a Criminal, that all sort of came about sort of as a joke, because it was something that I'd thought about for quite a long time of doing. And I was on a text thread last year with some, it was in October of last year, because I almost tried to pull it off last year, which would have been a disaster. And it could still be a disaster this year. But it was this love of coming together and having some sort of community, and again, this love of the South for me, and trying to embrace like the tropes of the true crime community, which I think are in a lot of ways really helpful, in some ways not very helpful, and in some ways very funny, because they kind of, everything kind of follows the same path, and so it's been a cool thing, from that standpoint, to share a Christmas story in a little bit of a different way. And it's not really a Christmas story. It's kind of like in the same way that I won't say the name of the person, but how a big time athlete accused of murder. It's not a sports podcast. If you follow that story, it's a story about people. And so I think there are a lot of things around, holiday and community, and around different segments of people and populations, and the way those communities interact, that it is really special. And I do love the holidays. It's fun. I can't wait to take Grayson out to see the lights this year.
Oh, that's so cute. We took Riley, my daughter, she's 6. We took her to this thing in Texas called Santa's Wonderland.
Oh,
it's amazing. I'm going to send you the link because you might have to make the drive out here next year. It's worth it.
Get the sleigh. I'm going to get the sleigh.
There you go.
The sleigh's in the impound. I'll get it out. We'll come over there.
It was much. I think that's going to be our new tradition going forward, where we go out there. It's like an amusement park of Santa. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
That's awesome.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and start ending it. Please send us some emails, guys. If you got any cool Krampus stories, or if you've been to any of the Krampus nights, please send us an email at weirdmythicpodcast@gmail.com. We are also on Instagram at Weird Mythic Podcast. Serena, you got the rest.
Come hang out with me on Twitter. It's at Weird Mythic. We also have our personal pages where, honestly, I met Jason on Twitter, man. That's how we connected. So Twitter is the best. Jason, where can we find you? What are all yours? Plug it, man.
So at Santa Maybe is most the best places, or santamaybe.com. The show is also on all of the normal places: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all the ones. So please listen if you can. Submit if you go to santamaybe.com. There's on the homepage, you can click on the naughty or nice. You could submit people for the naughty or nice list, and I will include that in an episode.
All right.
Your website's great, by the way. Whoever created that, man, they got really good taste.
I know. So that's a funny story. We have the same template, right? We have the same sort of. We are on the same page. That's why we're simpatico. We are simpatico.
Definitely.
We're joined forever for our website.
Forever from the website.
If not by that, then by Krampus on Olympus.
That's right. That's right. That's happening.
Right.
That is happening.
It has to. All right.
Yay.
That was awesome, guys. Thank you for listening. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.